Why do you think people are so scared to, share their opinions? What do you think is causing this fear? I mean, I'll give my story of a guy. By the way, you should have met these guys. These are your kind of guys. But why do you think people are so scared?
Conservative Christians, great guys?
They were Persian Jews from New York.
Oh, wow.
Who knew how to party.
Wow.
I mean, this is your community.
Yeah, that's my people right there. Oh, shout out to those
you're not
guys.
Persian. So why do you think people are scared nowadays?
Well, I mean, it's cancel culture, and it's been done to death, the issue. Everyone knows it's real now, but I mean, years and years ago, people were starting to realize that it was a thing. I mean, you have your social ostracized, you can be socially ostracized if you have the wrong opinion. This is especially true if you are a younger generation. I mean, your peers are being indoctrinated almost nonstop from, the education system, especially if they're going to a college, media, social media. So I think a lot of people, they're looking at what happens when someone gets labeled a racist or sexist or whatever it is, and they're kind of weighing, is it worth kind of speaking out if it means that I'm going to lose my friend group? And I have had friends who are, I guess, no longer friends because of my beliefs. Is it worth being fired or having my job prospects, limited just to speak out about these issues? And I think a lot of people are saying, no, not really. I'll just keep my mouth shut. I'll just kind of go with the flow. But we see where that's gotten us over the past few years.
Let me ask you, who were you in high school, like 10th grade, 11th grade? Who was Lauren Chen in high school?
Quiet. I was in the math club, played the flute and violin. So just a happening person.
All the cool kids.
As the kids say.
Partier.
So it's fair to say you were not part of the party animal, getting hammered.
Oh, actually, I skipped 10th grade also.
Great.
That should give you a little bit of an indication of what my social circle was.
Got it.
Yeah.
So were you like a 4.3 GPA type?
Painfully Asian, yes.
Really? Okay.
Shout out to the Tiger Moms out there.
That was not the first grade I skipped either. So
Really?
I also skipped 9.
So how old were you when you graduated?
From high school, it's
9 years old.
I didn't technically graduate high school because I was going back and forth through Canadian and American systems, but I finished with my bachelor's when I was 20. So
you finished with your bachelor's when you were 20.
Yeah, I haven't bragged about high school for so long. This is
Does it feel
great.
great?
It's pretty impressive, man.
Yeah. And you said earlier, nobody ever even offered you drugs. Like people looked at Lauren and they were like, nope, she's not doing blow.
Gonna say
She ain't
no.
cool enough. She ain't doing blow.
So
we got
there's no
Doogie
hanging out
Howser.
with Hunter Biden. That's not going to happen.
No, she's definitely not going to be hanging out
So
with
the reason why I asked that question from you is the following reason. So normally in school, who certain people are, and everyone's going to find each other. The party people are going to find each other. The complainers are going to find each other. The gangsters are going to find each other. The bodybuilders are going to find each other. The athletes are going to find each other. The Christians are going to find each other. Everybody finds each other, right? So if you were who you were in high school, your friends that all of a sudden are saying, well, Lauren, you're being a little too extreme with the stuff that you're saying 7 years ago. Was it a surprise to them that your opinions were what they were?
I think so, because especially if we're talking about women have the tendency to be very agreeable. And I think when you're taking a position that's going against the mainstream, which if you are at all even center left nowadays is considered fringe or extreme. That is an unpopular position. That is anti-establishment. And I think a lot of women, especially like the nice girls that I was hanging out with, I never would have thought of them as extreme or radical. But I think because they are so prone to that agreeableness, as Jordan Peterson would say, it's just a lot easier to go with it, to accept it, especially when you have these activists that are painting things like extreme feminism or the LGBT agenda as just being tolerant and accepting. They're going to look at anyone who speaks out against that as extreme, confrontational, bigoted, you name it.
Yeah, it's crazy you say that. So we're in Bahamas this last weekend. We took a couple hundred people there. Vinny, one night, we laughed. You made us laugh for 3 hours straight. I had an ab workout by the time we were done that night. But we walk out of this restaurant, and this one guy comes. He says, you're the Twitter guy. Another guy comes. He says, you're the TikTok guy. I'm like, I'm the TikTok guy. I don't even know, so... But the Twitter guy that I'm talking to, I said, tell me why you're saying I'm the Twitter guy. So I see your Twitter. He said, you should have me on your podcast. The guy says this to me, good looking, Middle Eastern, Jewish, wearing a $50,000 watch. And he says, you should have me on the podcast because we agree on a lot of things. I'd love to kind of tell them what's really going on. I said, why don't you have a podcast? He says, oh, no, I can't have a podcast. So why can't you have a podcast? He says, well, because, business is going to affect us. I said, you're the problem. You're the reason why America's where it's at. You are the absolute problem. And he grabs his wife. Wife comes over. These other two guys come over. Every one of them listens to you. So they know content, what we're doing, all this stuff. He says, yeah, he is. He's a pussy. He's scared. He's this. He's that. His friend is now joking with him, right?
Gotcha.
So I sat there and I said, so what are you scared of? Tell me actually what you're scared of. He says, well, what do I do? I mean, if I do in New York, I'm in New York. You know, if I say anything, you know, we're going to do this and they're going to do this and they're going to do that. Well, that's exactly the issue, okay? The three communities that I keep talking. I had a great conversation with Dave Smith last week. A phenomenal call together about the three communities. The lazy and scared Republicans are ruining America. The do-your-thing libertarians are ruining America. And the tolerant Christians are ruining America. These three communities are all generally net positives to society. They contribute to society. They don't take. But they're ruining America because they're sitting there saying, well, I don't want to kind of get my name called out. I'd rather just be quiet and not say anything about it because what if the guy's like, what my real estate business could take a hit. I say, your country could take a hit. Your kids could take a hit. You're worried about the real estate business. But then again, it's a real valid fear that a lot of people are having nowadays. But even a guy asked a question on the tweet. He says, Pat, I'm an executive. If you go to the other tweet prior to this, because this is a different tweet, go back one. Guy asked a question. Go a little lower. I think it's that one right there. Yeah. Guy asked the question. Go to the bottom on when the guy asked the question. Right there, my response to him. He says, Pat, I saw your thoughts on a podcast and completely agree. However, it is a risk for many of us to speak up. We have bosses who don't agree with us and bills to pay. What do you recommend to combat that? I said, I totally understand there's risk for speaking out, but there's risk for staying silent. It's much bigger. However, there are creative ways for doing it. If you want to click on show more, you can create a pseudonym to write blogs, a fictional character, a burner account that speaks up, a community Twitter account that without revealing it, you kind of like libs of TikTok. There are many ways to push the envelope. The only thing I discourage you from doing is staying silent. So that's kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I finally did reveal my face and eventually my name, it was freeing. Honestly, it was. It's sort of scary because all right, I can't really work a mainstream job in HR if people at my wiki page is calling me a white supremacist and all these terrible things.
A white supremacist.
Yeah. White supremacy is very multiracial nowadays. Mm-hmm. Surprisingly diverse bunch.
Working out now apparently. If you work out too much, well, yeah. But you know what? You actually Pat left out a part. Not only were we at a dinner for 3.5 hours and we came out, that interaction with this group, especially with this guy, was like a 10 to 15 minute situation where he not even called them out. I mean, like an audience. It was like a town hall in the casino, and Pat wasn't being quiet. He was going in on him. He was seeing the light, and then his friends were showing up. Other people were showing up, recognizing Pat, and I think calling people out, Pat, was not only like a good thing. We need more people like that who, mind you, he has kids in the room. He has enough crap going on where taking that time out in the middle of a casino on vacation to Pat, it was pretty loud. Like, I think we need more of that where it's like, hey, listen, you're not doing your part. You're all freaking talking.
It's a valid concern. It's a very valid concern.
It is.
So one, we have to understand the level of, like a guy calls from Hollywood saying, hey, Pat, I fully agree with what you're doing. Obviously, I can't talk about it because if I do, my community, I'm going to get hurt. I said, okay, career-wise. I said, okay. He says, what should I do? I said, do you have a few money if you're in Hollywood? I don't. I said, what matters more to you? Is this a bigger cause in your life than your love for Hollywood? He says, that's something I got to battle with. I said, I totally get it. You got to do what you got to do. But nowadays, the movie, Sound of Freedom, which we'll talk about here in a minute, but I think you want to say something.
No, well, I just want to give you kudos, but also kind of give a little, I don't want to say pushback, but there's a different perspective. So I fully agree with what you're saying here about creating a pseudonym, or even if you don't feel comfortable putting yourself out there, there are avenues to express yourself, no doubt. I would say one of the things I love about doing this is I get to talk my shit, right or wrong. I get to learn, I get to grow, I get to express myself. That's the beauty of doing podcasts. What's interesting, though, is I did a Manect call. Shout out to the team at Manect. Everything's going awesome there. I mean, the guys I'm speaking with.
Congrats on 300 Manects, by the way.
Thank you. It's great. It's awesome. Connect with us on Manect.
Yeah.
PBD, Vincent, myself. Maybe we'll sign you up, Lauren. But I have a call with this guy in Manect. And the whole conversation was, he was like, my business has taken a 50% drop because I express myself too much. I'd like to discuss this is the question. I'd like to discuss with you on Manect what you think I should do. I said, all right, we get on a call. It's a half-hour call. I'm not going to put his name or anything out there. I said, so tell me about your business. Well, I'm in San Francisco. I'm in the medical field, and I work with a lot of high-profile people. I mean, he said some names. When I say high-profile, I mean very high-profile. Like, you'll know the names. And he goes, I'm a a right, center right guy. I'm a MAGA guy. I'm a Trump guy, whatever. And he goes, in the medical field, I'm making $500,000 easily. And in the last year, my business has taken a 50% hit. He's like, and now I'm making $250,000 a year just because the people that I surround myself with caught wind of my political beliefs, and they've like 1, 2, 3, the names went out there.
It's a valid question.
And I was like, wow, let me process this with you. And I said, let me ask you something, bro. Do you have any political aspirations? No. Do you have any interest in doing a podcast or anything like that? Zero. I go, then why are you pushing the envelope so much? Because it's costing you $250,000 a year. He goes, that's exactly what I'm grappling with right now. I want to say what's on my mind, but it's literally costing me hundreds of thousands of dollars. I go, but hold on, back up a second. Where do you live? San Francisco.
That's the problem.
That's
the problem.
Are you planning on moving your business at all? No. Like, this is where I'm at. I go, then I don't know what you want me to tell you, bro, but is voicing your opinion worth $250,000 a year? Only you can answer that. He goes, yeah, not really. But I'm glad, this is circling back, I'm glad that you brought up alternative options that people can do. Yes, it's sad that if you express your thoughts and your beliefs, you could literally get canceled or lose clients or lose jobs or lose money. But that's the risk that we're at these days.
But is it sad, though? Because that's where I'm at. I mean, obviously, I'm speaking from a position of privilege where I get to, like you said, speak my mind, and I have people who support me. But if you're in this position, do you want clients who would otherwise hate your guts if they knew what you actually believe? Do you want to work for someone who thinks that you're this terrible person who's destroying the country? Do you want friends who are only your friends because they actually agree with you? Because there are rich clients this guy could have in Nashville, in Florida. He doesn't have to be there. And likewise, if you are someone who's wanting to do something to contribute to, I don't know, a little bit of the normalization of politically uncomfortable ideas, we should all be investing and spending money with people who share our values. We should stop supporting financially people who hate us or who are trying to trans our kids, like with Target or Bud Light, because I think what we're finding increasingly is that for the longest time, things have only gone one way. It's only people who are against the left that are afraid to speak out. The left doesn't have that same shame. You have celebrities who will tweet the most radically left-wing things imaginable. They're still in movies, they're still in Disney and Marvel, whatever. But I mean, someone like Gina Carano says something that could potentially be a little bit critical of, I think it was COVID stuff. She's fired immediately. Is that fair? No, that's not fair. So we need to start, enforcing the fact that we have our own values. We're not going to be ashamed of them. We're going to support people with like minds. If that means moving, maybe that's what you have to do. So many people are doing that now because I think a lot of people are just tired of being afraid all the time.
By the way, it's a very valid conversation. A lot of people are having it. That's great feedback. But there's a couple things to be thinking about. So one is like, okay, so if I'm living in San Francisco and I want to stay there, like this guy wants to stay there.
For some reason, I might add.
Well, that's where his business is.
Yeah.
Okay, but
the feces in the street, it's quaint.
Yeah.
Very quaint. It's very romantic when you're going out with your wife. And babe, I stepped in it. What a beautiful thing, babe. Just the smell in the car.
I guess to be clear, he's in Silicon Valley, which is what, a half hour outside of
Silicon Valley. I got you. So to go through this, he's right. It is a deeply concerning thing. But by the way, that doesn't mean that's not the reason why America is in shambles today. That also doesn't mean that. It means guys like him who are afraid to address conversations like this are the reason why the other side is able to get so much agenda. So the whole concept is, what are we intolerant towards? Again, I pray for 4 things: courage, wisdom, tolerance, understanding. I'm having a hard time with the third one, right? Because it's being tolerant. Be tolerant. Yeah. I have a hard time with tolerance right now. And then you see Dave Smith tells me about a quote by Von Mises. He says, can you pull up the tweet just the tweet right there that you had? Go back to it and go all the way to the top of the tweet. Not that one, the other one. Go all the way to the top of the tweet. Yeah, right there. If you can, there's a quote right there that says, right there, classic liberalism must be intolerant of every sort of intolerance. I have to tell you, I've been grappling with many different words in my life. Why are we lazy? Well, I finally realized why people are lazy. Your life is boring. When we're bored, we are lazy. So you don't want to have a boring life. Make your life exciting by constantly having stuff to do. So these things you ask questions of, right? This one here, you have to be tolerant Christians. We got to be tolerant. Bullshit. You can't be tolerant towards intolerance. If you're going to be intolerant to me, who the hell are you to think I'm going to sit there and take it from you? So the concept of intolerance, we must be intolerant to intolerance. Even for some of the Christian community on the bottom where it says your eyes are too pure to look on evil, you cannot tolerate wrongdoing. Why then do you tolerate the treacherous? Why are you silent with the wicked? Swallow up the more righteous than themselves. The whole thing he's talking about is why are you letting these wicked people take advantage of weak people? I'm standing in the streets. I see a person being bullied. I can do something about it. No. I don't want to ruin my career because what if I save that lady and then the cop comes and arrests me? So let him beat the wife up. It's okay. I'm just going to mind my own business. That's a coward in a way, right?
Well, I don't think tolerance is a virtue at all, actually. It is certainly not a Christian virtue. If you look at the New Testament, you don't really see Christ saying, it's okay, I'm just going to accept this. No, he speaks his mind. He makes a very clear delineation between right and wrong. God, the Old Testament, certainly not one for tolerance. So the idea that this is a virtue, something we should strive toward, I disagree. And it's the same thing with blanket concepts like diversity. We're supposed to believe tolerance is inherently good, diversity is inherently good just because, but no, they've provided no moral framework as to why those things should be something we strive for. We're supposed to just accept it without question.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Well, hold on.
And she nailed it, Pat, because think about it. The left, the other side, does not give a damn. They're not. They don't give, and nothing happens to them. So Pat, and I've always said this. It's time for us to be like, you know what? Enough is enough. Open your mouth. If you have to punch people in the face, I mean, they're doing it. What we're supposed to just sit back and take it?
I have one thing to say about that. So here's a part. Is it fair to say there's certain people in America that they're going to vote Democrat even if your argument makes sense? They're never going to change
100%.
their vote.
I know those people.
Is it fair to say there's certain people in America they're going to vote Republican no matter what? You can't say anything to them?
100%.
Yes. So the truth is right for both sides. Okay. So who are we really trying to talk to? That becomes a question.
The independents.
If you're trying to talk to the undecided, the independent, the libertarian, the green, whatever the community that's in the middle, the 12%, you have to figure out a way how to communicate with them. So if this guy's talking about this, I know a lot of people that will come and say, well, let me tell you something, fuck this, and yeah, you're not converting anybody. The ability to communicate a message as well to somebody saying, I never thought about it, thought about that before. You can do it simply by questioning. You can do it simply by saying, you know what, John, I don't know if public school was like this. When you and I went to public, was it like this before? I just don't remember being like this. The other day, my kid went to school and they did this. What do you think about it? That is a very open, you're not bashing anybody to start a conversation, and the other person can say, yeah, you know what? My wife was saying the same thing. The same thing happened with us the other day. Kids going to school, and I thought that was kind of weird. I'm a Democrat. I'm like, why did I do that? It's a little bit concerning. I'm starting to hear this, and those are the ways. Hey, don't you think it's kind of weird? Like, look, I don't mind taking a vaccine. I've taken a ton of vaccines. But don't you think it's a little bit weird that, they want pro-choice to do whatever I want to do with my body, which fine, that's an interesting argument. I get that as a person that wants to do whatever they want to do with their body. But isn't it kind of weird that they want to be pro-choice there, but they want to be pro-force when it comes down to the vaccine? It's a little weird, ain't it? It's a way you open up the conversation at workplace instead of just saying, these morons, these motherfuckers. That's also not going to work. So a part of your friend that you spoke to on Manect could also be the delivery of the message. The delivery of the message is just as important, if not even more important than the point you're trying to make. You may be right, but your delivery is so bad that you push the person away from whatever argument you were trying to make to them. There's a lot of people on social media, and I'll push back on what you just said a little bit on one of the points. It's easy for us to just go hang out with each other where we agree with each other. It's very safe to do that. You ain't doing nothing special. You're not doing what these great leaders did in the past. We're just sitting there talking to each other, and we all agree, hey, let's just go talk to people. Hey, Pat, why don't you come on this platform? Everybody agrees with you. I don't want to go to a platform where everybody agrees with me. I want to go on a platform where people don't agree with me. I want people to stop in the middle of the street and say, you know what? I don't agree with what you said about this. I said, really, I don't agree with myself also sometimes. Tell me what it was about that upset you, and let's process it together. I think we have to almost have some of those tough conversations, do something with it, try to figure out a way to persuade. Then if we don't succeed, then we got to take a different route. But I do think we have to talk to the opposition side instead of just people that agree with us. You can be a very good person that can find your own audience. There's two types of people. There's those who are going to go give such a great message, bashing the other side so much that the people that agree with this person show up, but they don't convert. Then there's another person that's going to say, let me tell you my way of how I see this here, and this is how I evolved into thinking this way. And then the other people say, that guy just converted me into thinking like that. So this guy finds a community. This guy goes and converts people. We need more converters in America. That's what's lacking. There are too many cowards that are running away just to talk to people that agree with them, and it's safe. We need more fighters. That's the challenge that we're having right now. So when that guy's saying what he's saying, I don't blame him for feeling that way. Maybe he's got to take a couple communication courses.
Well, I fully agree with what you're saying, and that the term that we've all heard over the last handful of years is people are living in echo chambers. It's if you're on the left, you're just speaking to all your friends on the left, and that's who you associate with, and you're living in your echo chamber. If you're on the right, you don't even all the libtards out there. I would never hang out with anyone on the left. All they're fucking evil out there. They're just living in an echo chamber. What I fully appreciate is open dialogue. And the fact that you constantly say, I'm going to push back a little bit. I'm going to push back a bit. That pushback right there is where you find answers.
Although I will...
That right there is where you find actually common ground.
I mean, speaking of pushback a little bit, Jonathan Haidt, he did this really interesting study, the idea of echo chambers. Conservatives consistently are better able to identify what the left believes than vice versa, right? Because it's frankly a little bit hard to live in an echo chamber if you are right wing nowadays, right? Your government is left wing, your media is left wing, your entertainment is left wing, your schooling is left wing. So, I mean, obviously, especially if you're in social media and your friend group, that could absolutely be just full of conservatives, right wingers. You don't have any exposure to actual leftists, but you're not going to get the same amount of ideological purity that you can on the left. And I think that is why the left, more so than the right, has been radicalized, and that we can see this when we look at like the positioning of the Democratic Party over the past few decades. That has shifted much further left compared to any transformation that's happened.
No, I actually fully agree with you. Can I circle back to one thing? Because we kind of skipped over it. We kind of just addressed it and then we moved on. This whole concept of tolerance. PBD, for years, you've been saying that your family abides by 4 overriding principles. What are they again?
Courage, wisdom, tolerance, understanding.
Okay, courage, wisdom, tolerance, understanding. This isn't something you just came up with this week, this month, this year. How many years have you been saying that?
15 years.
Okay, and you have a whole artwork based on this.
Yes.
And I fully understand why you're saying that you're grappling with this word tolerance, because it's come up so much these days. Hey, you got to be tolerant. You got to be tolerant. Whereas when you initiated this entire livelihood, tolerance was a virtue. Tolerance was the main. What's the definition of tolerance? Willingness to accept feelings, habits, or beliefs that are different from your own, right? Are there some synonyms? Endurance, resilience, being open-minded. But it comes to an extent. We had when we did the interview with Tate in Romania, when he basically went on a riff about tolerance. Tolerance of what? All right, okay, I'll be tolerant of this. Okay, gays can get married. All right, I'm tolerant of this. All right, I'm tolerant of that. And then you can't kind of use the story about, all right, now I got to eat the bugs now. I got to be tolerant of eating the bugs. Where do we draw the line? And I think we're at an inflection point of like, all right, cool, I'm tolerant about this. All right, cool, I'm tolerant about this. Yeah, I don't know about these drag shows with kids.
I think
not tolerant about that.
I still think it's a good quality. I don't think it's a bad quality. I think you have to isolate in what areas tolerance is bad. We can be easy to jump to one side or the other. I got 4 kids. Trust me, you need tolerance. I run a business with 45,000 insurance agents in 49 states. Trust me, you need tolerance when you're working with people that are going through the evolution of growing their mindset and all this other stuff. If you don't have it, if you don't have tolerance, you would fire 100% of people you hire. You need a level of tolerance. What I believe we need a level of intolerance towards intolerance, meaning the people I have the easiest time working with or community, like for example, Chris Cuomo and I are talking yesterday, and he says, Pat, why do you want me on your show? Like, dude, I don't look like the profile of people to have you on. I said,
just to be clear, you're talking about the CNN anchor, former
Chris
Cuomo.
Chris Cuomo. And I said, what do you mean? It's a very simple question for me. I said, first of all, I have a lot of respect for any man who raises 2 boys who love each other and are friends and are laughing, and your father did that. And when I see you and Andrew, I got 2 boys. I want my boys to be, I don't have to only look at conservative 2 sons to see how close they are. It doesn't matter what it is. I respect the fact that you guys are tight, you guys are close. I see you as a stud. Obviously, we have opposing political ideas and philosophies, but that's where we can have the exchange. I think you are respectful and we can have a respectful conversation together. If people can reason, we can have exchange. The people you shouldn't waste your time talking to are the people who don't have the ability to reason. That's when you're wasting your time. This is why I said the people that can be converted or are open, let's talk. The people that are not going to listen to any, like Keith Olbermann, what is the conversation with Keith Olbermann going to be? There's not going to be a conversation. It's just going to be, you're a moron, you're a this, you're that. Okay, got it. Go home, buddy. It's not going to work out. This is not what this is all about. So that's all I'm talking about with tolerance and intolerance. Go ahead.
If I could offer perhaps the virtue you're seeing in tolerance there, in tolerance, not in intolerance there, isn't actually tolerance itself, but understanding. Because I feel like if you can understand where someone is coming from, well, that should be the defining characteristic of whether you accept them or not. The issue of employees, for example, is it really that you have to be tolerant or that you need to be understanding of different scenarios? And if a scenario still equals them being an ineffective employee, you're not going to tolerate that.
No, you have to.
Sense.
No, no. You have to in sales. If you think I woke up day one and I was the number one salesperson in my gym or office or insurance company, that would be the biggest lie. Somebody was very tolerant with my evolution of improving because they believed in me. That's a different kind of tolerance. I tolerate Vinny when we first had him on the podcast. No joke. Yep. And you and I had a conversation with it. And I said, Vinny, here's what we got to work on in this. And even with Adam, Adam and I at the first podcast versus today, it's a very different thing. But I said,
but
okay.
Is that because you understood that they were new, that they were trying to grow, and that this was not their final evolution?
No, I think tolerance is a very good quality. People who are tolerant to areas where they believe something can improve. In areas that I'm not going to be tolerant in, my non-negotiables, I'm not tolerating my non-negotiables. But I think if you have, let's say you're dating somebody. What is the challenge the older you get, the harder it is to get married? Is there truth to that? Of course there is. Why? Why is it easier to get married when you're in your 20s? Why is it easier to get married when you're in your 30s than 40s? Why?
I mean, there's a whole red pill conversation we could go
now you're
down
stepping in my department.
But by the way, I mean, the argument can be, well, you shouldn't get married because of divorce. They take half of what you got. And this America is all about the woman. I get that. What I'm trying to tell you is the older you get, the less things you are willing to tolerate.
Yeah, you're a little more set in your ways.
Which, by the way, some could say that's a good thing. But if you're alone by yourself, but you want to be in a family and have kids, guess what? You are a little bit too intolerant to too many things. You got to kind of pick what your non-negotiables are. It's the only thing I'm talking about. I want to go to some of the other
I want to give you credit for one thing.
Go for it.
Okay, this is it. The reason that I respect PBD so much is a conversation we talked about one of our first handful of podcasts. And it came down to the concept of being a leader and specifically being a sales leader. All right, you do the SLS, the Sales Leader Symposium, Sales Leader Summit every year. We were having a conversation, was debate, and you go, hold on, I'm sorry, Adam. What's the most amount of people you've ever led? I was like, well, maybe like my sales team is like 4 or 5 guys, and I was a camp counselor as a kid. I was 50 people. You're like, nice try, buddy. Try being the sales leader, sales manager for tens of thousands of people. And that put my whole narrative in perspective. And that's what I give PBD so much credit for. Speaking of tolerance is, I mean, we've been to the MGM Grand, the events that you do for PHP. Shout out to those guys. Thousands, 10,000 people in a room. When you're leading thousands and thousands and thousands of people, I'm more prone to listening to what you have to say versus someone who's leading 10 people.
And by the way, again, if you and I wanted to be intolerant to say you're a governor, say you're a president, say you're a leader of a military, oh my God, one, you're miserable if you have a long list of things to be intolerant to. It's just things are not going to get done, and everybody else is going to be walking on eggshells all the time.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.